Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Strike Zone with St. Paul Saints skipper George Tsamis. Strike Zone is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the St. Paul skipper questions about the Saints, baseball or sports in general, or just seek George's wisdom about life events. In this week's episode, George talks with us about the recent departures of three of his starting pitchers to Mexico. He shares with us his insights about the signing of Nate Hanson. What is George's opinion about bat flipping and excessive celebration? And we learn what George gives as advice about how to break in a new glove. So let's get right to Strike Zone. So let's welcome back Manager George Tsamis this week. George, a lot of team updates for us, so let's just start with there.
Yeah, we've had a few things happen since we last spoke. I knew it was going to happen for a while, but three of our starting pitchers from last year, Dustin Crenshaw, Kramer Sneed, and Pedro Hernandez, all have got the opportunity to go down and pitch in Mexico, and you can't blame them because the money there is probably good 3 or 4 times as much money down there than it is up with us. So it's a good opportunity for them. You can't blame them, and you hope it works out for them. And in the season there, I believe it ends at the beginning of August, so maybe we can have them for the stretch run if it works out that way. But good for them. It's a lot of wins to replace. All three of them were good, and but I hope it works out for them. And we're not the only ones too. And there's a lot of other teams that have lost players in Mexico too. So it's good for the players that they'll be able to go down there and make some more money. And we've also signed back Nate Hanson today, and we saw him for a brief time at the end of the season, and finding good third basemen, that's been a tough thing to do, all the years I've been doing this. And Nate's a good third baseman, and again, I know we only had him for a couple of weeks, and but in 2014, I believe he hit 33 doubles between AAA and AA. So he's shown that he can swing the bat some, and with everyday at bats. And for last year when he was with the Twins, he really didn't get everyday at bats, and he didn't play too much. But when he did play, just about every day, 33 doubles in the season, it's pretty good. And I don't care where it is, it's pretty good. So we hope he can be a productive guy for us.
Well, I know that third base was a spot that you used several different guys at last season, and you were excited when he was available to you. So I would figure if he's available the entire season long, that he would be your everyday third baseman.
Yeah, all year long it was tough, and yes, that's the plan. He'll be the third baseman. He could play first as well too, and he could play second as well. But that's the plan right now, to put him at third base, and we think he'll do a good job for us.
Excellent. Well, we have fan questions this week. Since you brought this up, we'll jump to question number 2, which was from Jim from Bloomington, who asked, looking at the transactions on the American Association website, it sure looks like a lot of players from the league are being signed to play in Mexico. Is he wrong about this, or is there a lot more going on this season than what we saw last year?
No, I think it does seem like there's a lot more guys, this year, and especially lately. And there's a bunch of guys that are getting a chance, and again, that's good for them. And again, it's some pretty good money down there, and some guys could make $6,000 a month, and some guys could make $14,000 a month. So it's a lot more money that's in our league, and again, you can never blame a player, for going down there to try to make the money.
Does it seem to you that there's becoming a greater respect for the American Association and the players you guys are developing?
Yeah, I think so. I think it just gets better and better every year, and a lot of guys have had good years. It seemed like a lot of guys around the league had good years, and either they got signed or they are the chance to go down to Mexico. And there's a few guys still on our team that had good years too, that I'm surprised that a guy like Alonso, for example. To me, I personally thought he was the best center fielder in our league, and so I'm surprised he didn't get a shot anywhere, because he can make some plays out there, and you've seen he ran down so many of those balls out in the outfield, and finding good center fielders, that's been a tough thing over the years as well.
Absolutely. Heading back to Travis from St. Paul, who asked, George, do you regret the decision to play the first 2 games of your 5-game series in Sioux City instead of trying to build momentum in St. Paul first?
No, not at all. We wanted the home field advantage, and we first 2 games were there, and the first game, we had our chances. I believe we left. I don't know if it was 15 guys up there. So we had plenty of chances in that game, and we just couldn't get it done. And obviously the second game, it was a game that just blew us out that second game. But then we came back home and had two games, and you know what? You just have to tip your hat to what Sioux City's pitchers did, and they held us to 7 runs in the series, and you got to give them credit, and they were a good team all year long, and like I told you before, they just played a little bit better than we did in that series.
Mel from St. Paul would like to know, what do you think of the new slide rules in the majors, and do you see them catching on in independent ball?
Yeah, you know what? I'm not sure what we're going to do in our league yet, but I do kind of like it. We've talked about this, I think way back after that Chase-Up League play happened. I like it that when a guy slides, he has to hit the dirt first, before he goes into the base, and and that'll prevent a lot of that'll prevent some injuries, I think. And now, if a guy's turning a double play, I don't know how they're going to do it. Say if the throw takes him to the first base side of second, and then if a guy slides and doesn't hit the ground first, I'm not sure how they're gonna rule that, or maybe common sense will hopefully take over. Not like the catch rule in the NFL where common sense we still don't know what it is, but hopefully I do like when a guy slides, he needs to hit the ground first.
There's no talk about that though in the league that you're aware of, though.
Not yet, but we're still a couple months away, and I'm sure as we get closer, it'll be addressed, and we'll all be on the same page.
Bailey from Egan asks of you, the Twins are 500 in spring training. Does the record in spring training really matter from a player's point of view?
No, not at all. And if they win every game or if they lose every game, it really doesn't matter. It's about the veteran players and the guys who are going to be on the team. It's about them just getting their work in and getting their at bats, and the pitchers getting their innings. But I will say this: so for the guys that are trying to make a team, it matters to them, and not so much if they win or lose, but if they need to play well and they need to go out there and take advantage of their opportunities, because when it comes down to cut day, that's when it gets a little you get a little nervous out there, and you hope you get to go north with the team, but the wins or losses really don't matter.
Jake from Rush City asks of you, George, did you think that Goose Gossage's criticism of guys like Jose Bautista who are flipping their bats and showing enthusiasm were unfounded? Isn't it time for all these unwritten rules about not showing anyone up to be gotten rid of?
You know what? I think a guy should be able to. Well, it happens all the time. Guys hit their home runs, and as they say, they admire them, and that's been going on forever. I think with Bautista's, maybe the bat flip was a little too much, but that was a pretty big spot in the game, and you should be able to enjoy those big hits and those big home runs. And again, the bat flip was a little much, and but it happens all the time where guys are doing that, and if a guy hits a home run in a big spot, and good for him. And I don't know. I don't think pitchers should be offended. I don't think they're out there to. I don't think their intention is out there to show them up. It's, hey, I hit a home run in a big spot. I'm going to enjoy it, and that's what happened. And that was a huge spot. So it's the way it goes, and it's the way it's been going in this game for a long time.
But, I'm curious after hearing his comments about it from this perspective. Okay, is that if a guy were to hit a big home run to end a game, or a pitcher struck out a guy to end a game, and there was huge celebration, nobody would say anything about that. But if it's the 8th inning and a guy hits a 3-run homer and their team has been down 2-0, and he's celebrating about it, that seems to be a big deal.
Yeah, it's just the way it goes. Like, it's just the way the game goes. And again, if a guy hits a home run in early in the game, and it's just a home run in a 5-0 game, and nobody says anything, but but that home run, I forget if it was in the 7th inning or 8th inning, but it was a big home run in the game. It was a big spot, and he enjoyed it like everybody else in the ballpark did for the Blue Jays. So it's just the way the game is. You don't like it, don't let him hit it.
Exactly. Next comes Jerry from Maplewood, who asks, does it seem to you that Joe Mauer's best years are far behind him now? I can't understand why he's lost his power so quickly.
Hopefully not. Hopefully, maybe the home runs are gone, but he can go out there and be productive and hit his 320, whatever, 330. If he can go do that, nobody will even care about the home run. Just go out there and get on base, get some big hits, and just come up in the big spots. Hey, and if I can go back to that the previous question about the Batista thing.
Yeah.
But you know what? Another thing too, from the other angle, the hitters get mad at the pitchers when the pitchers strike a guy, and then they kind of show them up too. So it kind of works both ways in it. It's if a pitcher strikes a guy out and he stares a guy down or something like that, well, the hitters don't like that either. So it does work both ways, and it's just part of the game both ways.
Absolutely. Next comes Lenny from Minneapolis, who'd like to know from you, what guy in the major leagues would you build your rotation around if you had your choice of a number one starter?
There's just so many choices. There's so many good guys. I mean, Kershaw, obviously, he's been outstanding for so long, and he had over 300 strikeouts last year, and he's obviously at the top of the list, along with Bumgarner. That's another guy that he's been so clutch in the World Series, and but there's so many other guys. Arrieta was great, and I do like watching DeGrom and Matt Harvey pitch for the Mets. I think they're fun to watch. The one guy that I really enjoy watching is a lefty from the Chris Sale, lefty from the White Sox. To me, he is just from the left side blowing that 95 in there and 96, 97, whatever it is, and with that slider, he is just he's a fun guy to watch because we really don't see too many lefties that are blowing that fastball in there in mid to high 90s.
And he's putting up huge numbers on a team losing 90, 95 games a season too.
Yeah, and you know what? They should be better this year, and they've made some nice acquisitions in the off season. But he's a tall, skinny guy, and close to Randy Johnson. Obviously not as tall as Randy Johnson, but like Randy Johnson was so fun to watch back in the day. Well, Chris Sale, he kind of looks like him, and it's just he's impressive.
Absolutely. Next comes Dean from Minnetonka, who asks of you, isn't it great seeing some teams like the Cubs, the Astros, and the Royals, who have been down for so long, finally seeing all of their long suffering come to an end?
Yeah, I think it's real good for baseball, and like I said, they can throw the Mets in there too after what they did last year, and like we've talked about, hopefully the Twins are not far behind, and hopefully they can make some noise this year. And again, they have some good young players, and if their starting pitching can hold up, they could be right there at the end.
Owen from Brooklyn Park asks of you, George, what do you recommend as the best way to break in a new glove?
Over the years, I've heard them all. You put a bunch of oil on it, and but there's been times, when I was growing up, I'd put oil on them and tried it that way. But there's times that you don't, and just play catch. You got to break it in. Just keep playing catch, and obviously don't use a brand new glove going into your first game because you may drop some balls. But you just got to practice with it enough and take good care of it.
So is ideas like tying your glove with a ball in it and soaking it in water,
sure.
Are those good ideas?
I have put a couple balls in there and tied it up and just soaking the water. I've never done that, but I'm sure a bunch of people have different ideas. But to me, you just keep throwing, and it'll break in. The more you play catch with it, and just take care of it, and be smart with it. Don't just get home and leave it in the garage or leave it out in the sun. Just take good care of it.
Next, we have a couple of NFL questions for you. First comes from Jacob, who says the Broncos replace Peyton Manning and Brock Osweiler with Mark Sanchez. Are they done already?
Nope, they're not. And you just don't know what's going to happen anyways. It's just who knows what's going to happen when the NFL season starts in September. So from now until then, you just don't know what's going to happen. And they could draft a quarterback, they could trade for one. We just don't know. And so we'll see how that goes, how that works out in September.
Peter from Plymouth wants to know, he read the NFL competition committee is looking for more ways to protect the quarterback. Short of them playing inside a bubble or wearing a dress, what else can be done?
There's been, they are protecting them, and obviously you don't want to lose the quarterbacks, because when you do lose them, it's not the most exciting thing, it's not the most exciting thing to watch when the quarterbacks are, struggling. And there were some times last year, there were a few teams that lost their quarterbacks and the second and third string guys, and it wasn't the most pleasant thing to watch. And I think that's what they're doing. They're trying to do the best they can to protect them.
Well, think about a team like Arizona a couple of years ago that loses a Carson Palmer, and then their backup guy and the third string guy can't run the offense at all.
Yep.
That's tough to watch.
It's tough to watch, and then they get Palmer back last year, and you see how good he is, and how much it's a lot more exciting when you have your guy in there.
For sure. Our last question comes back from Jen from St. Paul, who would like to know, so how did your daughter's softball team finish out in Florida? Were you able to see all the games? And she wanted to point out what a good dad you were for going down to see her play.
Well, thank you. Yes, it was good to be down there, and I got to see her play. They ended up 4-6 on the little road trip there, but and my daughter, she had a couple of good games, a couple of tough games, but it's a long season, and again, glad I got to get down there to see her, and I will get to see her, pitch a bunch in this next month here. I will be driving up to Boston when they play to see him. So it's less than 2 hours, so I'll be able to get to see her pitch some more, and hopefully they can win some more games and improve.
Is she a lefty like her dad?
No, she's righty. Okay. So unlucky her. If you're a lefty out there, if you're lefty, you're lucky out there. So just take care of your arm, and you never know what's going to happen. You don't even have to throw 95 miles per hour if you're left-handed. You don't have to. Just those strikes and be able to get those lefties out, and you have a chance.
Good advice out there. Thanks, George, for joining us this week.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll see you later, okay?
We want to thank Manager George Tsamis for joining us on Strike Zone this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the St. Paul Saints skipper, please send them to us at AskGeorge@MinorLeagueSportsReport.com. That's AskGeorge@MinorLeagueSportsReport.com. Once again, please have your questions to us by Sunday evening so we can give the skipper a little time to review them before we record the show on Monday. I want to thank you for joining us this week. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we'll look for you next time on Strike Zone.